stars, and welcome to the latest episode of the Wind Down Rewind, where we rewind the latest in entertainment and pop culture news. Thank you for joining us. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Hey, Tammy, how have you been doing these last couple of weeks since our last
Busy,
episode?
busy but good. How about
Busy,
you?
busy, but good, and tired. Ready for this year, ready for 2023 for some reason. I don't know. Maybe I'm manifesting good vibes in 2023. 2022 has been kind of weird. Um, but anyway, we have a lot to get to this episode, so let's get to it. First, sending out a big rest in peace to Angela Lansbury from Murder She Wrote. Did you ever watch Murder She Wrote reruns?
Every once in a while, I wasn't the biggest fan.
Yeah, I forgot. I want to say, was she in Mary Poppins? There was a Disney movie she was in. She was the mother in Mary Poppins, in the original Mary Poppins. Um, so, but I do like old reruns. I do love Murder She Wrote. So, rest in peace to her. Also to the guy who played Hagrid in Harry Potter. He passed away as well. So rest in peace to him. And also, this is more of a thing, not a person, but I guess we say toodles to Truss as Liz Truss's tenure as the British Prime Minister lasted all of 44 days.
Shortest time in the, what did they say, 300 and something years?
Yeah, they were like, she bridged the gap between Charles and Elizabeth. I'm like, damn. The jokes and the memes have been like nonstop. Like the lettuce, she didn't even last longer than a head of lettuce, and I'm like, shit. But to her credit, the time that she was there, she did some damage. Like she took a bad situation and made it even worse. And I don't know how you can do that in 44 days. Like, yeah, I guess she came in like a wrecking ball at that point. But so I feel like I need a Miley. Look, if I had it set up, I'd cue the Miley Cyrus track. But yeah. Um. So, speaking of which, politics, it's election season here in the United States, and did you see Herschel Walker's debate with Reverend Warnock, Senator Warnock, and Herschel pulling out his deputy Doofus badge?
I saw the clip. I don't watch the debates. I already know who I would be voting for, so I don't need to watch the debates. But I did see the clip of him pulling out his prop.
Girl, tell me, it's real. And I was just like, in a sense, that it's a real thing, but a real badge that you can go arrest somebody with? Nah, player. But, he has said that he suffers from DID. So maybe that particular personality, maybe that's Sheriff Doug or something. I have no idea. But yeah, Georgia, y'all cannot do that to the people. Do not do that to us. And I say us because he won't be a state. Oh God, he wouldn't be a state senator if he won. He would be a United States senator if he won. And that cannot happen. Please be better than that. Him and his prop badge. And do you think like? Do you think his campaign knew that he was going to do that?
I don't think they care.
Wow. That, on some level, that's even worse, isn't it?
No, it's true to course for Republicans nowadays. They necessarily don't care. They're just about making sure that you put enough fear into the voters that they vote for whatever candidate you put forth. So.
Yeah, someone, and like I said, someone did say the quiet parts out loud already that um, they just want the power. They just want control of the Senate back. And they are going to do it any means necessary. And if that means putting up um, a sham candidate like Walker, then they will do so, which is sad for the Republic. It says a lot about where we are. Um, there was an article, an editorial in I want to say it was BuzzFeed. Um, I don't remember, but it was about Killer Mike, and it was a very interesting read. Did you get a chance to read it? I know I sent it to you kind of late.
I did. I did. I read it right before you called.
Uh, and what did you think? Like, it kind of pissed me off. Like, um, Killer Mike, he has a lot of clout in the community, being known as an activist and a rapper. Um, I and I don't know. I never quite jumped on the Killer Mike bandwagon. I'm like, okay, I can appreciate that you do good things, but something just never kind of sat right with me. And this kind of it just kind of confirmed that feeling that I had. Like, um, he basically throws his endorsement behind Brian Kemp. Like, he's trying to have it both ways. Because Brian Kemp made a performative appearance at a black boys' home slash reform school, and then has the nerve all the while to say that Stacey Abrams needs to go to the places that he goes, that Brian Kemp has been. And I'm like, who the fuck do you think basically, and I'm not even going to say she saved democracy, but who do you think put that band-aid on democracy in 2020 and delivered Georgia? Like, and when I read it, I was getting like, so you're saying that she's not doing enough, that she hasn't done enough? And I was just like, yeah. And then on the same ticket, it's like you're also co-signing or applauding, so to speak, Herschel Walker, giving them legitimacy, but all the while saying, well, I'm not saying I'm voting for him. This is an endorsement. Well, no, fool, when you co-sign for them like that, that more or less is an endorsement, especially within our culture and the demographic who you are going for. So, what did you think about that?
So one of the podcasts that I listen to um religiously, actually, every week, um had already mentioned about the Killer Mike aspect, and he called Stacey Abrams, basically he called her an elitist. The same uh oh my with I forgot, I can't think of like what the word is that they use, but those same like keywords that they throw out, that Republicans throw out all the time, he's using those words against Stacey Abrams and not taking into account that she now has to address that, which she shouldn't have to waste her time doing that. But because you are a black man, you say that you're out there, you say that you're for the black community, and you have influence, especially with younger voters, which is the toughest group to get to the polls to vote every election, every November. And calling Stacey Abrams an elitist just because she happens to be a very educated black woman, and I don't understand why it's so wrong to talk to people as in we're educated and we're smart enough to understand what you're saying. And why is there always a mindset of, well, you need to dumb it down for us? No, you don't need to dumb it down. We need to start rising to that occasion of being as educated as other voting blocks within this country. So I don't know, like I just asshole. And ignoring the fact of like what Brian Kemp has done to black voters in Georgia, like completely does not address that at all on what this man has done to stop black people from voting in Georgia. I feel like if he was in Florida, he'd probably be doing the same thing with Ron DeSantis. No matter what Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida, he'd probably be doing the same thing with Greg Abbott. No matter what Greg Abbott is doing in Texas, with minority votes and everything like that. So, yeah, he's an asshole.
Yeah,
That's my
and
summary.
it's a great summary, and it pissed me. Like, when I read this, I think I had a visceral reaction, and my favorite word, my favorite F word, and I was at a place where I probably shouldn't have said it out loud. And you know how you're thinking, but you don't realize you're saying it out loud. I think as
Mhm.
I read this, I dropped an "oh fuck" like out loud, and I was just like, the audacity of you to imply that and I think that's what pissed me off so much. The audacity of you to imply that this woman has done nothing. Like, she's done nothing to deserve the black vote. She's done nothing to deserve the vote, or anyone's vote for that matter. I'm like, she basically has canvassed the whole state of Georgia several times, you know, um, improving registration, voter registration. Like I said, who the fuck do you think put the band-aid on democracy in 2020 and basically delivered the state of Georgia. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said because she's an educated Black woman. And it, I hate that. I hate these Black men, these pseudo wannabe intellectual Black men. I hate that people are making them the voice of our community. Stacey Abrams, Val Dennings. It's the Black women out there doing all the work. It's the Black women out there saving democracy, putting band-aids on democracy, fixing the shit that you broke. But yet you're giving the voice and the props to motherfuckers like Killer Mike, Charlemagne the God, Kanye when he's halfway
Ugh.
sane, you know. So it's like you're giving them credit for all of our hard work. I didn't elect Killer Mike to vote for me. I didn't elect him to speak for me. Who made him the savior of the Black community? You know. And so that is what I think that is what pissed me off. It's like the misogyny and the patriarchy that's so layered and nuanced in that whole conversation. So it was just like, okay, so if it was Sam Abrams instead of Stacey Abrams, would you still be out there co-signing? And yes, you can't have it both ways. Don't split hairs. Would you still be endorsing this motherfucker who's basically going to, if he wins again, you will not be able to vote because the bill's not going to say unless your name is Killer Mike. No, you will not be able to vote. So while you're playing step it and fetch it and out there going against your own fucking interest,
Said, step it
yeah,
and
I
fetch
don't
it.
get
I
it.
love that. That's nice, Eddie. Step it and fetch it. I'm gonna
I
have to
mean,
put that out there. I'm gonna be like, well, if you wasn't playing step it and fetch it, where you get that from? I got that from Eddie. Okay, I fully understand what you. No, I agree. You know, all jokes aside, I fully agree. Agree. One thing I will say is that I feel like after I read the article that you sent me and listening to the podcast Higher Learning and just hearing their take on it and then going and kind of being like, huh, yeah, okay, I'm feeling what y'all saying. He didn't start off that way. I feel like I agree with you when you say like these Black men, you're getting to is it big for your britches? And the more power you have in your voice, the less you're speaking up for the Black community in the way that we need you to, right? And the more you about massa than you are about the Black community. But when it comes down to it and some other shit goes down in this community, you're going to be turning to us to save the community once again, because we're always the ones that have to sacrifice our time, our mental capacity, our emotional health in order to make sure that y'all are always taken care of. But when it comes time for you to step up and do your part, you don't do it. Because when you really look at Stacey Abrams, one of her weakest points in the voting block is Black men who for some reason look at an educated Black woman and just feel like they're being emasculated. Is it emasculated? Is that the word?
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
they feel like they're being emasculated just because we happen to be more educated than you. And step the fuck up and get yourself educated. Like, that's not my problem. That irks my soul. It always has. Like, it's not my problem that you're not on my educational level and that I want somebody that's on my educational level. Like, it shouldn't make you feel like less than a man. But if you do, then what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Because I shouldn't feel less than just to make you feel more of a man. And I feel like Killer Mike and Charlemagne the God, who is another big problem within the community and is being boosted up, no reason why, because he's been an issue since I lived in Jersey, and he was on the Breakfast Club, which I think he's still on the Breakfast Club. When I used to listen to it, I had to stop because I just couldn't agree with the shit that was coming out of his mouth. And then all of a sudden he's problematic because, you know, he's an assaulter and everything like that. But it just goes to say, like, when it's time for y'all to step up and use your voice for something, you don't.
No,
You're not using it how you are. You're getting behind these white men that are the same white men who have broken down our community and want us to keep, they want their boot. They want to keep their boot on our necks, and you're allowing them to continue to keep their boots on our neck. Chop those legs
because
off. That's what you need to do.
Thank you, because you know, I was talking, speaking about this with one of my friends, and she was like, like I said, it goes back to the patriarchy and the misogyny, and how, in a lot of circles in our community now, we're the reason why they're not rising. We're the reason why, um, that there's single parenthood. No, Nick Cannon, he's not. Those women didn't get themselves pregnant. you know, Shit like that. But somehow it's all our fault. And that to me ranks in my category of problems. There are you problems, me problems, and we problems. And you having a problem with my education level, or
That's a
me not
fucking you
you
problem.
problem. Exactly. Me not wanting to put up with your bullshit, having more self-respect, self-worth, integrity, all of that shit, not wanting to put up with the bullshit that you're bringing to the table. That's a you problem. It's not a me problem. It's a you problem. Hell, that's not even a we problem. That is strictly a you problem. And so she was like, like you said, playing into that whole master trope. Nick, they just happy that they getting a little seat at the table. They got the kitty seat at the big table, trying to fight for that other big piece of chicken. I'm like, really? So it was just really, really problematic to me. And notice that none of these men, Killer Mike, who's so down for the black community, and any other time they want to tout black women as queens, and how we need to protect black women at all costs. Him nor Charlemagne the Fraud, none of those motherfuckers have stepped up and gone after Tucker Carlson for his full on assault of Tiffany Cross. That shit is fucking disgusting. Have you seen or heard any of that? Like, it is
No.
disgusting. He basically invoked the bloodline against her, talking about, what do you think we're going to do? Because Joy Reid, I guess they've already labeled her the race woman. So anytime he refers to her, it's the race lady, the Harvard educated race lady, like she should know better or something. I don't know what his thing is. But yeah, Tiffany Cross is the next one on the list. Um, and of course, true to fucker form, he played all of the clips out of context. Um, but now, yeah, she's the next one that he's gone on, and he's like, "What do you think we're gonna do? Poison the well, poison your bread with our blood?" And I'm like, really? Like, it has just been truly disgusting. But when it comes to trying to defend her honor or defend her as a member of the community, what do you have? Crickets. But they're out there caping for Captain Crazy. Like, and him and his anti-Semitism, excuse me. um he goes on to slander George Floyd's family. Y'all don't say nothing, like saying that George Floyd, that the dude keeping his knee on Floyd's neck for 8 minutes had nothing to do with his death, that he actually died of a fentanyl overdose. But again, it's Kanye. He's a genius, so it's okay. um
He's not a
George
genius anymore. I need people to
No,
stop saying that.
George Floyd's mother was wrong for filing a $250 million lawsuit against Kanye. It's free speech. No, I'm going to need y'all to actually go take a class or read
Tell him, Eddie. Go ahead.
The
Educate them real quick,
Constitution for
Eddie.
Dummy books, because free speech, it only protects you against the government. It doesn't protect you against individuals. You can't lie, slander, and defame individuals.
Did
Well,
you hear
he's
about
dead.
Nori?
Huh?
Noriega?
What he do?
And he has a podcast
Mm-hmm.
and gave his platform to Kanye West. And so Kanye West is on, that's where he makes the comments about George Floyd. Like, he
Mm-hmm.
starts off with the comments about George Floyd. They don't call him out for it. Then Nori was like, oh, well, later on, like, I called him out, but maybe I was just too drunk, because I forgot what his podcast is called, but it's like Drunk Something. And so they drink and they talk and they chill and everything like that. Never listened to it. Not my cup of tea, but it has been mentioned. And so all this bullshit that Kanye West has continued to spew, he gives the platform to Kanye on his podcast in order to spew his hate. You already know where Kanye West stands, and once again, not defending the black community. And so when he has to come out, what is his excuse? I believe in free speech. I'm gonna need y'all to get educated on what free speech is. Like Eddie said, free speech protects you against the federal government giving you consequences for what you say. It says nothing about private individuals or private corporations. And I'm gonna need them to start saying that rather than letting Kanye come up on their programs and spew all these hates just so you can get some clicks. Like, stop. Like, ain't none of y'all trying to help this man.
Thank you. Like, and so, the shot Maverick Carter, produced by LeBron. He, after the first time, I guess after he went on Fucker's show, he had asked him to come on the shop. He said that they had a long conversation and talked about it. And he said he wasn't giving him a platform. He was trying to give him a way to kind of clear the air. And I guess,
oh, sorry,
but and so he said, so he thought that Kanye understood. He thought that he understood what it was. He was like, he got there, they filmed the show, and he was like, oh, that show will never see the light of day. And he was like, and I can appreciate that. He said it was so bad. He said, we're not even going to edit anything out of the show. The show will just never see the light of day. And he said, and I apologize for thinking that I could. He said, I apologize for even trying to give him a platform to try to tell his side of the story or to try to make it better. He said, because he didn't. He was like, there was nothing redeeming about the conversation. There was nothing cool about the conversation. He was like, we will never air that show. And he's like, I regret that I even invited him on to try to do that. And he was like, no. And I was just like, okay, so I can applaud that. He's like, I fucked up. My bad. It's all on me. I'm not even going to show you how bad I fucked up. And they say that they had, and believe it or not, they say they had to edit a lot out of Fucker's show, and that shit was bad. So if they left the worst bits of that shit on the cutting room floor at Fox News, then you know that shit was bad. And so I knew the podcast was drunk something, and I don't listen to it either, but I didn't realize it was Noriega's show, which, and typical, it just seems like, like I said, they're still out here caping for him. Yeah, we all know that he has an issue, but to me, like I said before, he's not willing to address the issue. And it can't continue to be an excuse. You know, stop saying Kim needs to come save him. No, she's done her time. She's done, and I applaud her for being done. And when you got me caping and co-signing for Kim Kardashian, we got a fucking problem.
Yes. When I gotta defend her, and y'all, I can't stand her. But when I got to defend the Kardashians over y'all trying to drag this woman, I was just like, it ain't her fault that Kanye West is the way he is. That's not her fault. It's not her fault that she's decided that she's keeping the kids away from him. I would too. If this was a regular person and your baby daddy was the way that he was, every woman who is still supporting Kanye West, you wouldn't want your children around that man. You wouldn't. Your parents wouldn't want their grandchildren around that man. So why y'all dragging Kim Kardashian for feeling the exact same way? It doesn't matter how she makes her money or anything like that. That has nothing to do with it. But her not wanting him to have a part in how her children are raised, like, I agree with that. That is the reason why I'm all in support of her for saying my children are never going to his non-credited school.
Thank you. Oh girl, first of all, it would be endangering a minor because he is fucking in the throes of a full-blown manic episode right now.
No, I think I don't think this is an episode anymore, Eddie. I think this is just him now. I
him?
think it went untreated for so long. This is just a regular day in the neighborhood. This is not a manic episode anymore. Just a regular day.
And by the time Candace Owens and all of them on the right stop fucking fleecing him, he's going to be broke. Balenciaga has officially cut ties. So I may have never been a fan of the Yeezy line. I was never a fan of his shoes. I was never a fan of his clothes. But I could always appreciate him giving us a space or opening a bigger space for us in the world of couture and high fashion, so I could appreciate that. But it's like, dude, whatever legitimacy you strived and worked so hard for in that world, you're basically burning it down to the ground. And in the same breath, you turn around and say, but Adidas won't do it. Adidas ain't gonna fight. I can be as anti-Semitic as I want to, and Adidas ain't gonna do shit.
Adidas,
Like,
you better step the fuck up.
so it's just like I can't. And then that school, the more you find out about that school, it gets worse. Did you see the clip of the song that they have to sing in the morning? They don't say the pledge to the flag, which some people can
They
say
say
is a
good
little
morning to
culture.
Donda.
They sing Good Morning Donda. I'm like, the fuck? I wish I would send my kids to spend $15,000 a year to send them to an unaccredited school to sing Good Morning Donda.
They just
Girl,
want access to Kanye.
girl, fuck that.
Well, we don't want access, but parents who have sent who have decided to send their children to his school, the only reason why you would send your children to a school that's not credited, that has no actual curriculum that they follow, would be to have access to the founder of that school. You want access to Kanye West, and you feel if you send your kids there and you pay the $15,000, then you will one day have access to Kanye West.
So
Like,
you
that's
don't
ultimately what it is.
So you don't want your kid to have a future, because I don't think I know of any fucking college that's going to take a kid from the Donda Academy.
I want to know how many people are already pulling their children out of the Donda Academy since it's been publicized on how fucking horrible that school is. People have already pulled their children out. How many people have pulled their children out? I don't believe there are more people enrolling their kids than people who are pulling their children out, because they were all up on the camera and everything like that. You have to sign an NDA and everything, and now people know. They be like, "Yo, ain't that Rachel's kid?" I think that's little Nicki. Ain't that little Nicki? I'm telling you, they pulling their children out of there.
Look, Rachel said she took her kid out of public school and started sending them to private school. Ooh, I didn't know it was Donda. Like,
yeah, I didn't know it was Donda. And then all of a sudden you start the chain. You start the text chain, right? You're like, yo, turn on channel 3 right now, yo, ain't that little Nicki? Ain't that little?
Thank you. Like, ooh, Nicki ain't on no Harvard chat going to Donda.
I'm like, I guess she gave up on everything else. But you know what? I always did think little Nicki was a little off.
Thank you. Look, little Nicki can't even get into trade school with that certificate from Donda.
Oh, God. Oh, it's a piece of paper. It ain't even going to be a certificate. Oh, girl. My God. Poor kids. Poor children. That should be child abuse right there.
It should be, like, for real. But, And then the other motherfucker we hate discussing. So the judge gave him a week to finalize his deal for Twitter, since apparently it's back on. So it has leaked that he plans on firing 75% of the staff and trying to turn it into some version of China's WeChat, like an all-encompassing app. So this is a case of 45's presidency to me. No matter how bad you thought it would be if this deal actually goes through, it's going to be a hell of a lot worse. Like, Twitter is going to become a fucking shit show. Some people already say it's a shit show, but it's going to be even fucking worse if that dude takes over. So, yeah, I think, you know how I feel about Facebook. I call that shit the devil, and I don't fucks with Facebook. So I think Twitter is about to be added to that list. Do you still Twitter? Do you still go on Twitter?
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll see. Because he's gonna let the boy back on. He's gonna let the Mango Mussolini back on, and all those people who were banned and stuff. Oh, and speaking of bans, Steve Bannon got 4 months and a $2,500 fine, I believe, for ignoring his subpoena to Congress. So I guess, but he's probably going to go to Club Fed, so he don't have to worry about dropping the soap. Although he looks like a one walking STD, so I don't think he'd have to worry about it anyway.
He looks as bad as Boris Johnson. Oh, my bad. I apologize.
Girl,
my bad, Britain. I know how much y'all love Johnson.
He looks a little worse than Boris, girl. Like, Boris just looks crazy and drunk. Boris looks like your crazy British drunk uncle who just rolled out of bed without combing his hair, right? Steve Bannon looks like a walking fucking STD. He looks like a fucking pus bucket. I'm like, ugh, that is so gross. Like you couldn't pay me to fuck that with somebody else's kitty cat. Like, ugh, yeah, nah. Okay, so we live in this great state of Texas. Did you hear that Texas is no longer sending their thoughts and prayers after school shootings, but they will also now be sending DNA kits so the parents can go identify their children?
Well, they're gonna reelect them, so I blame Texans.
Like, dog. When I saw that, I was just like, that's fucking gross. Like, you want to do all the money you're spending on this, and you could easily solve the fucking problem. And I love
What
how,
problem? There ain't no problem. There's no problem.
oh,
What problem are you
my
talking about?
bad.
There's no problem. They don't see a problem.
There's no problem. You're
There's
right.
no
So
problem.
but they now they have said there's no problem with that. You're right. That's my bad because Second Amendment in America, again, someone needs to go read the Constitution for Dummies and also apply a little bit of historical context to when it was written. And I'm surprised that all these Harvard and Yale law educated people don't know better, but that's just me, you know. Um, but so, now one thing that the Republicans will admit is that the crime has risen, the crime rates have skyrocketed. But what they won't admit is that the crime in their red states is much, much higher than it is in those blue states. I'm just saying, you know, statistically speaking, that's just me. Speaking of crime, the Stockton serial killer was finally caught. They suspected him of using ghost guns. And it seems that because of the Dahmer uh, show on Netflix, have you watched it yet?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the Dahmer show on Netflix, which admittedly is a good television, it tells a good story. But Jeffrey Dahmer was a fucking serial killer. It seems, that that's in vogue now. And so Simone Biles, it was funny. Did you see her tweet about her telling people put the Jeffrey Dahmer costumes back in the closet? Like
Oh
that's not
yeah,
the
yeah.
going as Dahmer.
I saw a
Yeah,
tweet about it. So on Twitter, I saw a tweet about it. Yes.
I know. Saw a tweet about it. You want to hear? Here it goes. We better enjoy it as long as as we can because, ooh, damn, damn. I don't want him to take over Twitter. I really don't. But anyway, I'm gonna have to agree with Simone. Going as Dahmer for Halloween is not the flex that I think people think it is. What about you?
I don't know. People have gone as Ted Bundy for years.
That's really not the flex either.
But that's what I'm saying. So I'm just like people. There have always been people who have dressed up as serial killers. I mean, there are people who wrote to Jeffrey Dahmer when he went to prison and he was convicted, who wrote to him about how much they loved him and everything like that. So I mean, yeah, you can say that, but we live in a society where nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah,
So
decency is kind of hard to find. And just in a side note, doesn't really warrant, I guess, a whole bunch of conversation. But the Parkland shooter, the kid, the guy who shot up Marjorie Taylor Green, the Stoneham High School in Florida, um, a few years ago in 2018, I believe, he was convicted. He was spared the death penalty, so he's going to get life in prison without parole. Um, and moving on, I'm excited about this. Spider-Man 4 is reportedly coming in July 2024 with Tom Holland. Yay, nay?
yay. It's Tom
Okay.
Holland. Come on now.
Okay.
Can't do no
Yeah.
wrong at this point, Tom.
Yeah. And based on they said it's gonna probably be a standalone. So and I guess they could do that. It might feature Daredevil. They're thinking it's probably gonna feature Daredevil a little bit, but as far as the other Avengers, it would be interesting to see how they fit them in or how he's going to fit into the rest of the MCU in those upcoming movies, especially considering what happened at the end of No Way Home with him being basically erased from everyone's memory. So we'll see. But I'm excited because I think we were in agreement. Aside from Captain America and Black Panther, and probably the first couple of Iron Mans. Didn't we agree that Spider-Man was probably one of the better MCU series?
I am going to be honest and say that the Spider-Man series with Tom Holland is better to me than even the Iron Man series. Iron Man is made
I agree.
amazing by Robert Downey Jr. Like, just that was the role of his career. And it was made, those movies were made amazing just because of who he is and what he brought to the table. But if you took Robert Downey Jr. out, the second and third one, trash. So
There were only three Iron Mans, right?
yeah.
Yeah. This I like the second one better than I like the third one, but to me, it's definitely the first. So yeah, and I think Iron Man maybe the only reason, if I'm being honest, full on that Iron Man makes the list is like you said, Robert Downey Jr. and it's what kicks off the MCU. It is the foundation, the cornerstone series of the MCU and how it's grown. It can all be traced back to Iron Man. So that is what I think. And for the for the universe to be based on that one series alone, I think they've done a great job in growing it. So that's the only reason I would probably put that. I would even put it on the list. But I cannot wait. What we're about 2-3 weeks away from Wakanda Forever. I'm excited to see Black Panther too. Um, you said so. Are you going to see Black Adam?
No.
No. It's not
I mean, yes. Not in theater, probably.
okay. It's number one. They're actually saying it's pretty good. That it
Of
has a lot
course.
of DC that has a lot of DC Easter eggs. I want to see it. Um, I was talking to someone about it, and they're like, "But it's The Rock," and I was like, "You act like The Rock is just this Oscar-winning actor. It's The Rock, okay? But it is what it is. But he is a bona fide movie star. So I'm not gonna hate on that. But I want to see it because Aldous Hodge is in it. Noah Centineo is in it. And plus, they say that this, like we were just talking about Iron Man being a cornerstone, this might be, since they can't really put all those eggs in that flash basket anymore. They're just hoping nothing else happens with Ezra Miller between now and next summer. Um, they're saying that this is probably going to be the one that kind of reboots the franchise and gets them maybe on that DC on that Marvel track. We'll see. So I
No, it
might go
ain't.
check.
No, it ain't. It ain't.
You you don't have that much faith in it, huh?
It's not. It's not. Like, just on the fact of Black Adam was supposed to show up in Shazam, and The Rock didn't want to do that. He wanted his own standalone movie with no, like, walk on a previous DC movie. So with that, no, it's not going to reboot the DC universe.
And I never
Hopefully
got that.
Aquaman would do that in December.
And I never got that. I mean, I understand not wanting to be Shazam's sidekick, but I don't understand how a cameo in Shazam would negate you having your own movie. Like I never understood that rationale. Did you?
Nope.
Okay. I was just, sometimes we get to the point where we agree to disagree. I'm like, maybe
Nope.
Tammy
He
could
was
make
too
it
big.
make
He's too big for his britches now.
I was gonna say maybe Tammy could make it make sense to me, but
No.
also in a surprise, I think, to no one, especially with the way the whole landscape has changed, and the way that we view movies and the struggle with at the box office to get the numbers. And these are the films that are pulling in the numbers. It's made they're thinking it's going to make upwards of $60 million domestically. Um, the superhero movies, those franchises, those are the ones where you're pulling in the eight figure paydays now. So it's really hard to, where Leo could go in, used to be able to go in and demand 20 per film. You can't necessarily do that anymore. They're saying if you want those big numbers, you're going to have to do a DC or a Marvel film if you want that type of money now. And I'm not really surprised about that. We've been talking about that for a while. And especially when George Clooney was like, both he and Brad Pitt took a pay cut for the movie that they're working on in order for it to be shown in theaters. So And I hate that because I do love going to the movies when I have time, which is mostly in the summer. Besides the stuff that we see, just to go see extra movies that aren't on our list. Um, you know, then, but yeah. Okay, so Will Smith, Emancipation. There had been talk that they were going to push it to next year because of the slap and everything. They have decided not to push it. It is going to be released, I believe, on Apple and a few theaters um, in December, right around Oscar season. And everyone said it before, even before the slap. They knew that this was going to be his next big movie, and it is an Oscar bait film. From the preliminary viewings, they say it is incredible. That it is really, really good. It is a really, really good movie. Now the question is, should he be nominated?
If it's a really good movie, sure.
Okay. So and all that would go along with that. And I agree. Are you gonna watch Emancipation?
I have not even seen the trailer.
Okay. I can understand that. I haven't seen the trailer either, but Will Smith is one of those actors that I mostly watch, especially now that we're past the Wild Wild West phase of his career. I generally watch whatever he's in. He's one of those people that can draw me in on name alone. Now, whether or not I will like the movie is something different, but he will. He's one of those that will at least get me to watch just on name recognition. Have you speaking of trailers? Have you seen the trailer for Creed 3?
No, I saw it. I haven't sat down to actually watch it yet, but I did see
Oh,
it. It came up on my YouTube feed.
it looks so good. I watched the trailer. It
Is
looks so good.
Tessa in it?
Yes.
Okay.
And Jonathan Majors, oh my gosh. Between him getting ripped he was on Men's Health, and I forgot that he was going to be in Creed 3. But his body, dude, is a work of art. Talk about an Adonis. And I'm thinking because generally when you get bigger roles, because he's going to be Kang in Marvel, the next big bad throughout the Avengers series and all of that. And so I'm thinking, oh, he's doing all this for Kang because the Marvel actors, they talk about how they have to resculpt and rework their bodies. I'm like, oh god damn. But and then I was like, oh, he's in Creed too, and there's a couple of shirtless pics of him in the Creed, and I'm like, fucking hell, like he did it, like I was like, I need to go work with his trainer, lose this COVID baby real quickly. But yeah, so it looks really good, and it's Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut. So I will definitely check it out. I love the Creed series, I really do, and I think it was a great way to continue the Rocky series without us having to sit through a super geriatric Rocky getting his brain beat in. I thought it was a really good spinoff to the series. So are you interested in
You
seeing
ain't ready for
Creed
Rocky,
3?
Grandpa? You ain't ready
No,
for Grandpa Rocky?
look, he's so it just be raw. I'm not ready for Rocky to be beating up the people in the old folks' home, but yeah. You saw the first two, right?
Of course, I'm a huge Michael
Uh,
B. Jordan fan.
okay, so I'm really interested to see what he does, and so the thing. Kevin Spacey was found not guilty in the Anthony Rapp suit. Anthony Rapp is an actor who said that Kevin Spacey had molested him when he was 14 and younger, or when he was a teenager. So that was one charge that he was cleared of, and we'll see how the rest play out. Um, Bill Murray, we talked about him. Do you remember our last episode? Remember our second to last episode when we did the Bear, and there was this whole sequence in the Bear about Bill Murray, and we ended up having that conversation.
Yes.
Okay. So Bill Murray, Lucy Liu on Charlie's Angels, and I think that was part of the reason that Bernie Mac ended up taking over the role of Charlie is because Bill Murray and Lucy Liu absolutely did not get along on the set of Charlie's Angels. Like he was rude, problematic. I know he said some racist and offensive things. I don't know if it bordered on the lines of sexual harassment or anything like that. And it was. it was during the times where you really didn't talk about that thing, but they quietly replaced him. He able to make excuses or whatever with Bernie Mac. A few years later, just recently, within the last few years, Lucy Liu spoke out publicly about the problems that she had with um, with Bill Murray, saying, and I don't know, I like Lucy Liu as an actress, but I think because she's one of those women who's always kind of stood up for herself and never taken shit. Of course, she's been labeled as someone who's hard to work with or that type of,
Mm-hmm.
um, and so I was just like, really? And again, it kind of came out, and no one really came to her defense. No one really said anything. So then, just earlier this year, Kiki Palmer, they were doing an Aziz Ansari film, which had to completely stop production because Kiki Palmer had some complaints and other cast members had some complaints about Bill Murray. And she said it again. And still, no one really comes to Kiki's defense. They're just like, oh, well, we're investigating. And I think because they actually got other people to co sign on Kiki's complaints, that's when they stopped production. So now something else has happened, and Gina Davis finally comes out. She worked with him, I guess, in the '90s, early 2000s, and she said he harassed her, and this was along the lines of sexual harassment when they were working together. He was an all-around asshole. Seth Green said that he had basically put him in a trash can when he was a kid on Saturday Night Live, and some of the people from Saturday Night Live have come out and said that he was just prickly and he was rude and he was an asshole when he was hosting. So, yeah, Bill Murray is, yeah. Any thoughts?
He's a nobody right now, so I have no thoughts on Bill Murray. I didn't even know Bill Murray was still alive.
Oh wow, that's the biggest insult ever. And I'm not
Like,
being funny. Like that's really bad. Like, ooh,
I really, really didn't. I like, he's never been a significant actor for me, so yeah.
for me, I'm obviously I'm more aware of him than you are, and he's done some great things. Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters, that series,
Right. He was in that.
and just some other like from the late '80s, early '90s. He does have a catalog of work. He did get a start. I think he was one of the original not ready for prime time players on Saturday Night Live. Um, so I have more of a history, and this all of this goes a long way to ruin his legacy, I think, and it's very, very unfortunate. And I hate that we live in a time where you don't believe the women, especially the women of color. Because Lucy Liu been done told us, as we like to say, she been done told us about Bill Murray. Kiki Palmer came out and told us about Bill Murray. And yet no one really wanted to believe it until it was co-signed on by others, which I think is just truly, truly unfortunate. Okay, so going to music really quickly. Bad Bunny's leading the nominations for the AMAs. Are you going to watch?
You be always trying to set me up. No, I am not watching. But
Okay.
I will be on YouTube later.
To see the performance. Bad Bunny's album is really good, and I
It
know
is
you're not.
so good. I've actually
Okay,
listened to it.
okay. I was gonna say I know you're not really into a lot of Latin music, but I love his album. It is really, really good. And based on the ones that I saw up for nominations, I don't have a problem with Bad Bunny sweeping the majority of his categories. Um, Speaking of AMAs, usually a predecessor to kind of give us an idea of what's going to come out of who the Grammys are looking at, even though more music comes out between the AMAs and the official Grammy nominations and stuff like that. So, do the Grammys have a legitimacy problem?
I don't know what you mean.
Okay. So Bruno Mars and Anderson Paak, also known as Silk Sonic, they've withdrawn their album from consideration from the Grammys. Drake and The Weeknd announced plans to skip the Grammys, and Nicki Minaj calls them out. Um, and the Nicki Minaj story is a little bit more nuanced. So basically, Nicki Minaj's song "Super Freaky," um, she they put it in, they nominated it, or they put it for consideration because the nominations haven't been out, but they put it in the pop category instead of the rap category for nomination. So Nicki went off, rightfully so. You wanted your song, and I don't know, like the artists are the ones who are responsible in their team. They're the ones who submit their songs for consideration under these different categories. So I don't know if her team actually just put it in any category that it would be eligible for, which is personally what I would do. Okay, if I would put, I would submit my stuff for any category that it would be eligible for. But so I think on the list of final ballots at this point, it wasn't in the rap category. It's being considered for the pop category. Okay, you're mad. I understand you're mad about that. You have every right to be mad about that. But your beef is with the Grammys. She then drags another rapper, Latto, who is a new rapper, a female rapper, into the fray because Latto's music got nominated in rap. And then, so from that point, like on point A, you have me. I understand your beef with the Grammys. But then on point B, you just went full Nicki Minaj and fucking lost me. Like, I'm like, just when I try to agree with you, just when I try to co-sign for you for something, you got to go and be Nicki. Like, yeah. So,
But you submitted your work in the pop category. I'm confused. I'm confused. I'm not understanding the issue here.
And see, and that's the thing. Like I said, I'm not sure if her team or if they just moved it from rap to pop. I'm not sure how the thing behind
No,
all that.
you get nominated based on what you submit for. So if you submitted
And
for hip hop and you submitted for pop and they chose you for pop because you just wanted to put your eggs in as many baskets as you could, I'm confused.
and
I don't understand the problem.
I guess the problem is that a newcomer like Latto, who's had some great
Oh,
bangers this
so it's
year,
jealousy.
I guess so. I
Got you.
guess
Okay.
because the newcomer Latto was actually, I guess you feel like she stole your spot in the rap category. I have no idea. But like I said, if you're gonna have beef with somebody, your beef is with the Grammys, not Latto.
Is Latto white?
No.
Oh, because she called her Karen. That either.
So
I was confused. I'm not a fan of Nicki. Nicki has gone downhill for me. And she was always on the fence for me anyway. Um, so everybody wants a Grammy. And I get the issues of the Grammys and some decisions that they have made in the last couple years. I definitely get that. And that can be another conversation. But at the end of the day, everybody wants a Grammy. That is your goal. Now, when you become so huge that you can fucking care less about a Grammy because you're making money either one. So, like, I feel like when it's Bruno Mars and Silk Sonic, do they need a Grammy for legitimacy? No.
No, because they swept the Grand. Like the only thing that they had released, the only thing that their album came out in November. It wasn't eligible because it didn't make the cutoff last year. And Evening with Silk Sonic didn't make the cutoff for the Grammys. But Leave the Door Open, their song had already been released and it was eligible for last year's Grammys. So they swept every category that Leave the Door Open was nominated in last year, even the ones that weren't televised, they swept. So they walked off last year with 4 Grammys for one song.
So they already have Grammys. And what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say is Silk Sonic doesn't need a Grammy. So I can understand them coming out and saying, we're not even putting our album in there because you don't fucking need it. You don't need it. You don't feel a need to have it. But at the same time, there are a lot of artists who still look to the Grammys as the ultimate come up. Like once you get that Grammy, you have made it. You have reached the goal that you have been working out since you got into that industry. And so for artists who are on that level, Drake you don't fucking need it. So when you say you're not submitting anything or you're not going to attend, okay, great. When The Weeknd says it, okay, great. But I don't think it takes away from the legitimacy of the Grammys that these artists who have already made to the highest levels of their careers are saying they're not attending or they're not going to submit. It doesn't take away from how amazing your album is. It doesn't take away from how amazing of an artist you are. But at the same time, there are thousands of artists who still have that goal. I don't think it's taking away the legitimacy of the Grammys just because you don't want to attend. You can say that because, once again, you don't fucking need it. Just say. Just my opinion.
And I agree with you. I don't disagree with anything you said. Like we've talked before. In some cases, I think they make some boneheaded decisions that make me question their legitimacy at times. Some of the decisions that they make. And again, if you think that, first of all, it should be an honor to be nominated. And I'm with you. From my understanding of the way it works, you put your stuff up for nomination. So if you put it all in those baskets, and just because you didn't think, because you're a rapper, it didn't get put in the primary category that you think it should be put in, and you thought that you were going to just win the rap category, because part of it was, they put her in the pop category where she's going to definitely lose. Well, if you're already manifesting that and putting that bad juju in your life, you're going to lose. And quite honestly, I'm surprised the song was nominated anyway, because it was trash in my opinion. That's just me.
Super freak. She's super freak. That's the one, right? That's the one.
Yeah, basically okay. The rip of the. I don't even know if you can call that a sample of Rick James. You basically throw some bars over Rick James' voice, like So again, I have been off the. I was never a Barb. What she calls her fandom, or what her fandom calls themselves. But I have been off Nicki for a while. And like I said, just when I could understand part of your beef, I understand, but your issues with the the Grammys, not with.
Hold on, Eddie. I'm just looking at what you just sent me, right?
Yeah.
She mixed?
Yeah.
Okay, so she mixed. Yeah, because that's ambiguous. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize. Go ahead. So I understand the Karen. I understand the Karen comment now.
This one to help.
Huh?
Okay. So, is that one better?
No. I see what she looks like, but I thought she was dark. I thought she was darker skinned. That's why. Because I was trying to understand why she called her Karen.
But on the surface, she don't look much different than they about the same hue, huh?
Who?
Nicki and Latto.
No, Nicki. You could clearly tell Nicki's darker skinned.
Just a little bit.
Still darker skinned.
Just a little bit. Again, the whole colorism thing to me was unnecessary, but whatever.
I agree. I was just trying to understand the Karen comment. Like, why would you call a Black woman Karen? But looking at it, it was an insult, right? Because she's very light skinned. That's the only thing. She's very light skinned, so that's the reason why she called her Karen. That was my only understanding. I was just like, why do you call her a Karen? Like, I didn't get it. I was just like, how you gonna call a Black woman a Karen? But I get it now.
Yeah.
Now, granted, she's still a bitch for it, but I understand why the Karen came out her mouth, though.
And then her and her friends not giving Missy her respect, but that's a whole nother story. So toxic. So talking about albums, I know you're not a fan, but Taylor Swift released her album Midnights. It is amazing. It's really good. Love it. Again, the woman is a hell of a songwriter. The 1975 within the last week also released their new album, Being Funny in a Foreign Language. They're one of my favorite groups. I love it. It's really good. And then JB, we were talking about how he's going to release all these different albums. His goal, he said, was to release 4 by the new year. He only has 2 more to go. He released one this week under his deaf persona called Abandoned Love. And even though JB still has more of a pop feel, I think as JB, he's more of a pop R&B, that pop R&B crossover. Def is his just straight up R&B persona. Both albums he's released within the last month or so are amazing. So I love it. Have you listened to Abandoned Love yet?
Yeah,
Or
that's
you're
your opinion. I'm not a Def fan. I'm a
yeah,
JB fan. So you consider it to be amazing. I do not.
yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, but you're not a big Def fan.
I'm not, but I can still acknowledge when an album is great. Like I can listen to Taylor Swift and let you know if it's a great album, even though I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Taylor Swift. I do agree with you. She is an amazing songwriter, absolutely phenomenal songwriter. Like, gosh darn it, can she write an album about my life? Like that's how good she is. But I can still acknowledge that and still talk about the fact of like I'm not a fan. And being great at your craft doesn't make me look at you differently just because of that, you know?
Got you. So, final, I saved the best for last.
Mhm.
BTS officially announces their intent to enlist and fulfill their military obligations. Um, we've talked about it. We've agreed to disagree on whether or not they what should have happened. But yeah, I was disappointed, but I wasn't surprised. And what about you?
I think it's a ruse.
Explain.
So not like 100% sure, but here's what I wouldn't be surprised about. Because whenever somebody talks about BTS serving in the military and the possibility of them being exempt, you know, for the years that it's been on everybody's thing since Jen was, I think, like 26 was when the conversation really started to rev up. Um, they've always made the comment, well, they say that, you know, if they have to serve, my first thing would be like, what else are they supposed to say? Are they supposed to let us know that they don't want to serve in the military? They can't do that. So of course they're gonna tell us that they want to serve in the military. So I'm like, if them saying that they've already started off the plan on how Jen is going to enlist, they're now what they've said is they'll all be back by 2025, which means that next year, most likely, the rap line is all going to enlist around the same time. And then later on, you're going to have the vocal line so that they can all be back in by 2025. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if they put out all of this plan and then at the last minute, the Korean government exempts them. Because then what they can say is, but they were ready to go though. They were ready to go and serve their country. It's not their fault that they got exempt. Should they just
Yeah.
deny the exemption? No. They should enjoy their freedom. That's
And
exactly what I feel may go down. I'm not saying that it's 100% going to happen. I'm just saying if it happens, I wouldn't be surprised. And then we can come back on here and be like, yo, Tammy, you did say that. I did.
And I agree with you. I'm not 100% disagreeing with you. You know, I think they should have been exempt from the beginning just because. And this new, more conservative Korean government that they have, they're not doing themselves any favors. And I'm also on a conspiracy theory. I think I can't deny it, and I don't think anyone can deny that there have been ways and talks about exemption for BTS. Again, and you know me, I don't like to argue, well, so and so did it or everyone else have to do this. Fairness isn't sameness. And I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to understand that, but for some people you do have to break it down. Fairness is not sameness. Other groups are not BTS. BTS has done more than the other groups have. Okay. There's K-pop groups and then there's BTS. They're in their own stratosphere, their own lane. The money that the government, not Heidi, I'm not talking about Hyde, I'm talking about the government, the country of South Korea stands to lose with BTS out of commission is in the billions of won, which is in millions of dollars, bordering on trillions of dollars. So that's a lot of money that's going around in your economy. That's just that. Yes, K-pop has become a global thing, but no other group is as big of a draw as BTS. So
Yes.
that's just one thing. Then, you know, the defense minister got everyone kind of excited to where he was like, "Oh, well, there's a possibility they can still perform." Oh, but then he clarifies, "Oh, only a national event. So you want to continue to do the dog and pony show, but only if it's in events like the concert for Busan, which was to boost or try to get the expo to 2030. So basically, they can still perform, but it's only on your terms if they're doing something to promote you and your government and your country."
If they want to be
Okay.
put into a safe troop, probably.
You know, so it was just like, yeah, you're not doing yourself any favors, minister. He should have kept that because he caught all the smoke that day. Like they were still smoke. Normally it's like, okay, because you know we both kind of get up at the butt crack of dawn, and so by the time the rest of the world wakes up and you know you check Twitter again, usually something is changed. No, he caught it for the majority of the day for that one.
Go ahead.
No, oh no, so I was just going to say probably, you know, they got to announce it on their terms. So I wouldn't be surprised if what you're saying is true, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they actually end up going through with it. And Jin, his song, and I was right about Jin. You said he wasn't going to release anything at all. I told you he was going to pull the pure Jin move, probably release one song and deuce out. Jin is releasing one song with Coldplay. It was co-written with Coldplay. It's called The Astronaut. I think it's coming out next week. And then he's going to prepare. He's going to go to Argentina and perform it with Coldplay in concert. The concert is going to be in movie theaters, but Big Hit, Heidi, they're releasing the Bang Tang Bomb or the video of the performance the following day. So next Saturday is going to come out. But yeah, that's the ultimate Jin flex. I knew Precious. We both knew he wasn't going to give a full album. I was like, he's probably going to do a 1-2 song thing and be like, I'm out. And that's exactly what he's doing. So, but I'm looking forward to hearing the song and see what he has. And then RM, I think RM is probably going to be the next member to release a solo. He's been teasing on his Insta stories. He's been teasing it, and I think it's done. So I think it's just a matter of the promos for Jin, and probably within, I would say, probably by no, he said October 19th. So look for either the single or the full album from RM to be released by. Wait, this is October, right?
Mm-hmm.
So November. My bad. I'm tripping. So just look for it to come out within the next month or so. But yeah. So what?
So what I will say, you know, in my opinion, is that South Korea has a rich people problem, and they feel that, and not talking about BTS, but just in general, punishing corporations or chobos, as they call the rich, is going to destroy their economy. The same thing goes with BTS. Sending them to the military, they're going to lose all this money. They already have that issue with the fact of how their rich are treated in the country and how much they get away with, because they feel if one corporation goes down, it's going to destroy the whole economy. And even though the world is behind BTS getting exempt, when they've continuously done polls within South Korea, it's either they're on the side of BTS should serve the same way that all other K-pop stars have served, or they are split in the middle. There's never been a time where they're on the other side where they should be exempt. And that is the reason why ultimately, like, I feel like the government is trying to see, like, can we still get away with exempting them and still save face? Because if they can't save face with the conservatives, because South Korea is so freaking conservative, if they can't save face with the conservative community, because the world, yeah, we're all, you know, we have our different mindset and it's blowing up around the world. But in Korea, it's very different on how they're reacting to BTS possibly getting exempt from the military. They're not necessarily behind BTS being exempt. And that is what is ultimately driving the decision for their federal government is what their country is feeling and how their country is going to see the federal government if they exempt BTS. I mean, at the end of the day, like K-pop is being huge. So if you do it for BTS, there's going to be another group. You're slowly going to have to start exempting other K-pop stars. And another thing is they're being sued by the big three. Like you're being sued by the big three because NCT starts their service next year. 17 starts their service next year. They're the next two biggest groups in the country, in the world. And that's the reason why I'm like, I was never for it, because it's a domino effect.
Again, and that's one of my problems with the South Korean culture. Fairness isn't sameness. Not everything goes for everybody. You don't treat everybody the same. I'm not saying BTS is going to the military is going to crash their economy. I'm saying it's going to affect it. It will have an effect on it. You have to acknowledge that. If a company going down or a group going to the military is going to crash your economy, then you have bigger problems than that company and that group. But I'm just saying you have to look at it as a whole. So that is the whole thing. Um, and I get it, but again, like I said, that's why you call them exemptions, because it comes along where people certain people do things that allow them to be exempt. If it was for everyone, then it wouldn't be called an exemption. So that's just how I look at it. Because when I hear that
Exemptions are
argument, well, you have to do it for me, then I'm like, that just reminds me of kids. Well, he did it and you did. No, 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 no. Again, fairness isn't sameness.
but
I
it's
can
not.
treat you all fairly.
See, and
I can
that's
treat you fairly, but I don't have to treat you the same. And again, that so I mean, I guess we're heading back to that same argument, but
it's just
and
some people
I'm
understanding like how the mindset works, because I think like when I talk to other people and they're of the same mindset as you, like they say that BTS should definitely be exempt. And then when I explain like, oh, we feel they should be exempt, but because I'm gonna be like, I'm of the mindset because of how the Korean culture is. But if it was just on me, just with my American mindset, I just like, why they gotta go to the military? Like that just means two
I'm
years of not getting BTS. But when I think of like their culture and everything like that, like it's what my mindset is, it's a domino effect. Like, yes, saying this isn't fair. Like I get what you're saying, but it's a domino effect because there are other groups that are huge that bring in millions of dollars as well. And yes, BTS brings in, billions. Fantastic. What happens the next time that goes down? Because BTS open the door and there are going to be groups that are going to be huge, like Stray Kids is another one. They are breaking records themselves. TXT is the same thing. So like that's how the federal government is thinking, along those lines of they don't want to have to do it for anybody else. They don't want to be put in a position of doing it for everybody else. So like if they
well,
don't give an exempt at the end of the day, it's not because they don't want to. It's ultimately because they don't want to have to do it again. And then all of a sudden they're going to have to change the law and they're going to have to include K-pop artists into the exemption possibilities for for their military, and that's what they just do not want it, and the people don't want it. The people of
well, here
Korea don't want it.
and again, I understand the Korean mindset. I'm looking at it from the Korean mindset, but that's just how that's how I think. I mean, like I said, I understand why it's happening. I just don't think it should be happening. I understand why this was always a very realistic possibility, but they've already kind of changed the law. The BTS exemption, that is what it is. So unless you have groups that can fall into the BTS exemption, and again, no matter how big K-pop gets, you're never going to have another one of those groups. BTS is like a once in a lifetime group. You have the Beatles, and there are a few groups that fall in that category: the Beatles, the Jackson Five, maybe New Kids on the Block, okay, and then BTS. You had other groups that came along. NSYNC, okay, they were big, but they weren't this big. So you'll have groups that come along. They'll be popular, but they won't make it into that stratosphere of those groups that I just mentioned. Like those are once in a generation, once in a lifetime groups. So the way they're thinking, even Stray Kids with their popularity, both their albums that they just dropped landed #1 on the Billboard Top 100. Great thing. They're breaking their own records, but it's still not BTS level. And if they make it there, then great. But not every group is going to be a Stray Kids or a BTS. So that, that's just my thinking. But we'll see. At this point, it's a moot point. Jenna be in the military by the end of the year. I think J-Hope will probably be the next to go since he's already done most of his promotions and his solo stuff. And I agree with you. They're
You don't
probably
think he's gonna go because he's
after his album drops. So I think I agree with you. I think the rap line will I think they might wait and just have the rap line go after Yoongi wraps up, and then the vocal line go after they're done, and then it will be over with. The rest of the vocal line, the Maknae line, since Jenna already be in the military. So probably by next summer, I think all of BTS, unless your theory is correct, I think by next summer all of BTS will have enlisted in the military. So, okay, I do have a palette cleanser. You ready?
Go for it.
Okay, we're gonna put this in your shit don't stink category. The city of San
I'm not ready.
But you said you were.
No. But go ahead. Do your thing. I'm not reacting to it though, Eddie. Don't ask me no reaction. I'm not reacting to it, Eddie. But go ahead. No, go ahead.
To the $1.2 million toilet that the city of San Francisco is trying to install in the nice neighborhood. Because it's a public toilet, like a park. Think about, when you go to the park, you usually have that bathroom that you walk in, you're like, oh shit, but I really gotta go. It's a one step up above a porta potty because the toilet flushes. Well, San Francisco and their bouge, they're like, nah, we got this $1.2 million toilet coming. Yeah. So, and then the governor of California, Newsom, was like, what the fuck? So he was like, nah, the state ain't paying for that. Y'all gonna have to find another way. And the city of San Francisco said, well, it's not that it's actually going to cost $1.2 million for the toilet itself. We're just putting in all the other costs. And it's like, nah, you got to come back with something less expensive. So, $1.2 million toilet. Could you imagine a $1.2 million public bathroom? What would it have in it? Would your shit really not stink if you shit in a $1.2 million bathroom? Like, would it automatically just aerosol?
I told you she was not gonna get me. So Eddie talking to herself right now, y'all.
What? You gotta admit, that was a good one though. Palette cleanser, get it? If you go on $1.2 million, you cleanse your palette.
You're having a ball on her own, y'all. As long as you laugh, Eddie, that's all that matters.
That was a good one, if I do say so myself. I literally got tears. I'm interested to I might go to San Francisco just so I can use it in a $1.2 million toilet. Okay, I'll stop. You gotta admit, though, that was a good one. All right, that does it for this. Oh, and then she's just gonna leave me hanging. See what I gotta do with pop stars? That does it for this episode of the ReWine. Please be sure to listen, like, follow, and comment anywhere where you listen to your favorite podcast. You can also keep up to date on the latest in entertainment and pop culture news, as well as other amazing goodness, as well as other amazing kernels of pop culture goodness at the popcornwinedown.com. That's it. That's the plug. Pop. Hope you don't have the shit. Sorry. Thank you, as always. Until next time, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.
Peace.